This past Friday, President Biden and his administration had made a move to tighten limits on deadly air pollution. Now, coming out of Washington, D.C., the Biden administration on Friday had proposed to tighten limits on fine particulate matter, which was a deadly air pollutant also known as soot. Um, it would be um, it would be the first time in more than a decade that the federal government cracked down on a contaminant responsible for thousands of premature deaths every fucking year. Now, fine particulate matter comes from smokestacks, construction sites, trucks, power plants, and other industrial activity. It has a diameter of no more than 2.5 micrometers, 1/30th the width of human hair, and it can become embedded in the lungs, and it is linked to heart attacks, stroke, and respiratory failure. Now, the draft rule by the Environmental Protection Agency would tighten the current limit, which has been in place since 2012 by such as 25%. The administration estimates that it could prevent as many as 4,200 premature deaths annually, as well as 270,000 missed workdays per year, and it can result in up to $43 billion in net health care and economic benefits by 2032. Now, Michael Regan, who's the EPA administrator, had said that the new rule was central to the Biden administration's efforts to address environmental justice, and poor and minority communities are disproportionately exposed to soot and other air pollution because they are frequently located near highways, power plants, and other industrial facilities. Now, our work to deliver clean, breathable air for everyone is a top priority at EPA, and this proposal will help ensure that all communities, especially the most vulnerable among us, are protected from exposure to harmful pollution, Mr. Brecken said in a telephone call with reporters. Um, Now, the National Medical Association, the nation's largest organization representing black physicians, said, now for Mayela Bustos, 61, a teacher's aide for disabled children in Southeast Houston, stricter air pollution standards can't come soon enough. We have some of the worst air quality in the world in this neighborhood, and as someone who struggles with chronic respiratory problems on some days, she said she struggles to breathe. Um, the Clean Air Act requires that the federal government review the science associated with particulate matter every 5 years and adjust limits accordingly. Despite the recommendations from the agency's own scientists and research showing that tightening the pollution limits could save thousands of lives a year, the Trump administration in 2020 declined to do so, and they were last tightened back in 2012 when Barack Obama was president. The fact that the previous administration missed the opportunity to strengthen these standards meant that in the interim, we saw people suffer the health impacts of these standards that should have been tightened, said Laura Bender, who's an assistant vice president at the American Lung Association. Business groups say that the new rule will harm an economy already reeling from inflation. Now, while it is important to note that to continue making this process, further reducing particulate matter standards may lead to unintended consequences and hamper our ability to build badly needed infrastructure, said Chad Whiteman, who's a vice president of the Environment and Regulatory Affairs for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Global Energy Institute. In this period of high inflation and supply chain disruptions, the U.S. cannot afford more disruptions to our economy. Um, the EPA's cost-benefit analysis of its proposed rule concluded that it would cost industry between 95 million to 390 million by 2032. But the agency estimates that the economic benefit calculated in the lives saved and the illnesses averted and the missed workdays prevented, it would outweigh those costs by a range of 8 million to 43 million over the same time frame. The draft rule proposes lowering the particulate matter standard from a limit of 12 micrograms per cubic meter to a level between 9 and 10 micrograms per cubic meter. The EPA will accept public comment on the proposed rule for up to 60 days, but the agency officials said that based on those comments, they could still tighten or loosen the initial proposal before finalizing it, making it most likely later on this year. Um, the environmental justice advocates said that the proposal did not go far enough to protect vulnerable communities. This rule falls short of taking steps to mitigate the decades of neglect and harm done to the health of our communities and to the health of Latino children in particular. And this is what Laura Esquivel, who's the vice president of federal policy at the Hispanic Federation, had said. We will continue to advocate for the Biden administration to do more to ensure Latino communities are not left at risk either. but the proposed rule is the latest in a series of actions by the Biden administration to restore and expand environmental protections that were rolled back, weakened, or ignored under the former squatter Donald Trump. After the November midterms, Biden now faces 2 years of a divided Congress with few prospects for significant legislation over the next 2 years. That leaves him to lean into the power of his executive authority. In 2021, the EPA restored the Obama-era rules on climate warming, the climate warming auto pollution that had been rolled back under the former squatter Trump, and it is expected to further tighten those rules later this year. Now, also this year, agency officials plan to complete a new regulation on leaks of methane, a powerful planet-warming gas that seeps from oil and gas wells, and it's to enact a new rule to rein in carbon dioxide emissions from power plants after the Trump administration had weakened and rolled back rules on those pollutants also. So if you like the video, you can get the video, like, and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little, it's a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.